The hallway smelled faintly of disinfectant and cheap perfume, a mixture that had become so familiar to Aaliyah that she barely noticed it anymore. She was the quiet one, the girl who rarely spoke, who kept her books pressed against her chest like a shield, who seemed invisible in every class. At least, that's how people saw her. What no one ever bothered to ask was why she was quiet, why she chose not to speak, why her dark eyes always seemed to be calculating, scanning, and memorizing. Aaliyah had learned long ago that speaking too much, drawing too much attention, or even daring to shine in certain environments could make you a target. And now, in this new high school, she thought maybe, just maybe, if she stayed out of the spotlight, people would leave her alone. But bullies could smell silence like sharks smell blood in the water. It started with little things. A whisper behind her back, a mocking laugh when she answered a question correctly in class. A cruel nickname, Mute Girl, that spread faster than wildfire. Aaliyah never responded. She simply packed her books neatly, walked down the hall quietly, and kept her face expressionless. But silence doesn't stop cruelty. It feeds it. That morning, the day everything would change, she felt the shift in the air before it happened. She was at her locker, sliding her math book onto the shelf, when she noticed a shadow fall across her. Turning slightly, she saw them, 3 girls, notorious in school for their sharp tongues and sharper claws. Brittany, the self-declared queen of the sophomore class with bleached blonde hair and too much lip gloss, smirked at her. Beside her, Kayla, tall and intimidating with arms folded across her chest, gave a cold smile. And then there was Jasmine, who didn't look mean on her own but always followed the other 2, laughing at their cruelty like it was a sport. Well, if it isn't Mute Girl, Brittany said loudly enough for passing students to hear. Still pretending you're too good to talk to anyone. Aaliyah ignored her, carefully shutting her locker. She'd learned not to give bullies the reaction they wanted. But ignoring them was like adding fuel to their fire. Oh, she thinks she's better than us, Kayla sneered, walking around like she's some kind of princess. Girl, you ain't nothing. Jasmine giggled, leaning in. Maybe she's just scared. Or maybe she doesn't even know how to talk. The 3 of them cackled, and Aaliyah quietly turned away, gripping her bag straps, her jaw tightening. She walked toward the restroom, hoping to escape before their cruelty escalated. But the footsteps behind her told her she wasn't so lucky. She reached the bathroom door, pushed it open, and as soon as she stepped inside, the heavy sound of the door slamming behind her echoed like a warning bell. Her heart quickened. Where you think you're going, Mute Girl? Brittany's voice dripped with mockery. Before she could step into a stall, Kayla's strong hand shoved her shoulder, forcing her back against the cold tile wall. Aaliyah's books tumbled to the floor, papers scattering across the dirty bathroom tiles. Jasmine giggled again. Oh, she looked so scared. This is fun. Aaliyah's lips pressed into a thin line. Inside, her chest burned, but outside she remained composed, her eyes steady. Brittany stepped closer, sneering. Why don't you ever talk? Huh? You think you're too good for us? Or maybe you don't have anything smart to say. Aaliyah's silence seemed to infuriate them more. Kayla leaned down, her face inches away. Say something. Come on, say something. But Aaliyah just stared. That stare, calm, unflinching, quiet, unnerved Kayla for a split second, but she covered it with anger. Her hand snapped out, grabbing Aaliyah's bag and yanking it off her shoulder, tossing it into a sink. Water splashed as Jasmine turned on the faucet, soaking the bag. Aaliyah clenched her fists at her sides. Her breathing slowed, her eyes darkened, but her lips didn't part. You know what I think? Brittany sneered. I think you need a little lesson. Something to break that stuck-up attitude. Kayla grinned. Yeah. Let's see how she looks with her hair all wet. Before Aaliyah could move, Brittany yanked the tie from her braids and Jasmine grabbed a handful of her hair. The tug was sharp, cruel, humiliating. Aaliyah's head tilted back from the force and she felt the sting across her scalp. The 3 girls laughed, their voices bouncing off the bathroom walls, and then it happened. The shift. Inside Aaliyah, the quiet girl everyone thought they knew, cracked open, and something else, something stronger, something dangerous, emerged. She had been silent because silence was her shield. She had kept her head down because she knew what she was capable of if she ever lifted it. And now they were about to find out. Aaliyah's hand shot up like lightning, grabbing Jasmine's wrist in a grip so firm the girl gasped. With a single twist, sharp, precise, controlled, Aaliyah bent Jasmine's arm behind her back, forcing her to release her hair. Jasmine yelped in shock.
What the?
Brittany stumbled back. Aaliyah stepped forward, her movements fluid, controlled. She shoved Jasmine into the sink, water splashing across the floor. In one motion, she turned toward Kayla, who had tried to lunge at her. But Aaliyah's knee shot up, catching Kayla in the stomach with such force that the tall girl doubled over, gasping for air. Brittany's eyes widened. This wasn't the quiet, weak girl they thought they could torment. This was someone else entirely. Someone dangerous. You fight? Brittany stammered, her lip gloss smeared from her gaping mouth. Aaliyah didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence now wasn't weakness. It was terrifying power. Brittany, desperate to save face, lunged at her with clawed hands. But Aaliyah's reflexes were lightning fast. She sidestepped, grabbed Brittany's arm, and twisted it, pinning her against the wall in one fluid motion. The sound of Brittany's cry echoed through the bathroom as Aaliyah's grip tightened. You should never mistake quiet for weak. Aaliyah finally spoke, her voice low, steady, and dangerous. The girls froze. It was the first time they'd ever heard her speak, and those words cut sharper than any insult they had ever thrown. Jasmine scrambled up from the floor, clutching her wrist. Kayla wheezed, still hunched over from the knee strike. Brittany whimpered against the wall, pinned and powerless. Aaliyah's eyes burned with a fire none of them had ever seen. She released Brittany suddenly, letting her stumble backward. The silence in the bathroom was deafening, broken only by the sound of dripping water and their panicked breaths. And then Aaliyah turned, calmly picking up her soaked bag from the sink. She wrung it out with steady hands, adjusted her braids, and walked toward the door. But just before leaving, she paused, her back to them. Next time you try to pull me in here, she said softly, make sure you're ready for the consequences. The three bullies stared, wide-eyed and trembling. For the first time, they were silent. As the bathroom door swung shut behind her, the quiet girl walked back into the hallway, her head high. Her silence now a weapon everyone would remember. And that was just the beginning.